Welcome to episode 45 of the Comfort via Discomfort podcast. I'm your host, Adam Beaumier, and in this episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing Janie Desir. At one point or another, I'm sure that many of us, if not all of us, have taken our health for granted, whether that's our vision, our ability to walk, our ability to think clearly, our ability to use our hands and fingers, whatever it is. I know that most of us, if not all of us, have taken our health for granted. So I want you to imagine your life drastically changing for a minute. Okay, so if you're able to close your eyes and listen to this for just a minute, obviously, if you're driving or working, please don't do that. I want you to be safe. But just imagine that at 27 years old, you're going about your life as normal, you're a healthy individual. And one day when you're driving to the grocery store, you notice that your vision is off. Now, this isn't like something is in your eye or there's that little floating thing. No, like your vision is actually off and there's a cause for concern. So a couple of days later, you decide to go get it checked out. And doctor comes back and says that you have an extremely rare eye disease and that you will eventually completely lose your vision. You don't know when, but you'll completely lose your vision. And the only option for you right now to have clear vision is not for you to, wear these soft, comfortable contact lenses. It's actually for you to wear these thick contact lenses that are made out of glass. Obviously, in that moment, your entire world just changed. You're devastated and you have so many questions. There's so much uncertainty, but you decide to wear these contact lenses because that's pretty much your only option at this point. Fast forward 3 years, you're 30 years old, and all of a sudden your body has started to completely reject these contact lenses. So now that's no longer an option. Another trip to the optometrist uncovers that you are now legally blind. You're considered legally blind. So now, again, so many questions, so much uncertainty, completely devastated with this news, and you have no idea how to live your day-to-day life, right? Now, you were at school for graphic design, but you've had to drop out because you have no idea what life is going to be like moving forward. So instead of going to school for graphic design, now you go to school to understand how to live your day-to-day life. And this is the story of Janie Desir. Janie was 27 when she found out that she had an extremely rare eye disease. At 30, she found out that she was considered legally blind, and she was devastated. She had so many questions, so much uncertainty, and her world completely flipped upside down. Janie is an extremely determined woman, and she had her mind set on finding a way to make this work. And that's exactly what she did. She went to school for 3 months to learn how to do day-to-day tasks, like go to the grocery store, for example, now that she was legally blind. And then another 3 years later, when she was about 33 years old, she gave birth to her son. And as a blind parent, there were even more questions and even more uncertainty with how to raise a child when you are blind, but your child is not. Again, very determined. So she figured out a way to teach her son different things like colors, numbers, and shapes. But she didn't stop there. She decided that she was going to help other people that were in the same situation as her. So she founded a company called Teaching Your Baby in Braille to help blind parents teach their sighted children. So she's now the author of 4 books that help parents teach their sighted children to do basic things like learn colors, the alphabet, and shapes. And these books are available in English, Creole, and Spanish. It's an absolutely incredible story. And in this episode, Janie talks about the details of everything, about what it felt like in the doctor's office when she was told that she was going to lose her vision completely, what it was like 3 years later when her body rejected the contact lenses and she found out she was legally blind, what it was like dropping out of school and having to go to school for the blind. She literally had to relearn everything. And then finally, why she is now set on this mission to help other people around the world facing the challenges that she's facing. This episode is it'll touch your heart. It'll pull at your heartstrings. It'll make you emotional. There are times where you will feel sad. There are times where you will feel completely inspired. But the message that Janie wants to share is that you can do absolutely anything in life. And I hope that her story is a perfect example of that for you. So stick around for the entire episode. There's so much to learn from Janie and her story. After you've listened to the episode, please consider leaving a review. We absolutely want to hear what you think about the episode and how it can make a difference in your life. And we also encourage you to share this episode with somebody else, to show them and to inspire them to go after their dreams and to go after the life that they've always wanted to live, because anything is possible despite the obstacles that are put in our way. Alrighty, enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the CVD Podcast, where we are creating a mentally healthier world, one open, honest, and vulnerable conversation at a time. I am so happy that Janie Desir is here with me today. Janie, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I am excited. Like I said before we press record, I've never had a conversation quite like this. And I'm really looking forward to digging into the details. Before we get into that, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about who Janie is as a person and what you do for work? And then we'll kind of dabble in that a little bit, and then we'll get into the details of your story.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Janie. I am a single mom. I am legally blind, and I am a jack of all trades, I can honestly say. But right now, I work at a college. I am a clinical assistant, and on the other hand, I own my own business. I am the CEO of Teaching Your Baby in Braille.
Teaching your baby in Braille. What tell me a little bit, and tell the listeners a little bit about what that is.
Well, Teaching Your Baby in Braille is a series of children books that helps blind parents like me help teach your little ones the basics, alphabets, shapes, numbers, and colors, but in Braille. And also, if your child is legally blind or visually impaired, the parents can also teach their little ones and also learning Braille at the same time.
Wow, that is incredible. From the moment that I found out that you did this, I was like, "Whoa, this is really cool." I think we met at Podfest Global.
Yes.
At a it's like an online event that happened in March earlier this year in 2023. And I was like researching a bunch of people. Like any time that there was like a session, I was like always looking like who's in the audience, who's typing in the Zoom chat or whatever, and just like looking up their names to see who they were. And when I looked at your name, it said teaching your baby in Braille. And I was like, what the heck is that? Like that sounds like really interesting. And so when you and I connected, I mean, it didn't take long for us to hit it off, number one. And
Hmm.
number two, for us to be like, Janie, you got to be on my podcast. Like,
Yes. Yes. And I was like, yeah, I'm eager.
yeah, it was really interesting to learn more about your story. And like you said, you're legally blind. You haven't always been legally blind,
No.
and teaching your baby in Braille has come from the fact that you are now legally blind, right?
Yes.
So this is really, really interesting. How long have you been running the company for now?
I first created it about 3 years ago, almost four. And the story behind of me doing this was because of my little one. I have a rare eye disease called keratoconus, and it doesn't affect you until you're an adult. And down the line, your eyes will literally just deteriorate. And it's not really deteriorate, it's your eyeball, instead of it being a round shaped eyeball, it'll turn into like a candy corn shape.
A candy corn. That's a great way to describe it.
A
Because
candy corn shape.
when you told me about it, I definitely looked it up, and it was basically saying that the cone on your eye, instead of being that round, almost goes like this oval shape and sticks out a little bit more. So candy corn
Yes.
is a great way to
It's a
describe
candy
it.
corn. As I tell people, I have candy corn eyeballs.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm just going to be picturing a cartoon character with like candy corn, like obviously exaggerated, but like candy corn eyeballs. Um,
Yes.
so when did you find out that you actually had this disease?
I found out about it in 2014. It
2014.
was
Okay.
so random because I was like driving as normal and I kept noticing that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm having problems with my eyesight. I can't see certain things and I'm wearing glasses and I still can't see. So I finally went into a doctor's office and the doctor was just so, I would say, surprised, but also more in like, wow, I have a rare case. I'm so happy I found it. I was just like,
Are you
what's
kidding me?
going on? Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And he's like, oh, you're like the second person that came around here this week with this eye disease. And I'm just like, second? And it was just so weird. And then that's when he told me about it and explained to me like what was wrong. And he's like, I can't do anything for you here because glasses won't work for you at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
So they had to send me off to a specialist. And that's when the specialist got into more details of the eye. And they were telling me, I would need to wear a hard contact lens. They were basically made out of glass,
Oh, okay.
and it's such a pain in the ass putting them in and taking them out. Like literally need a whole suction cup thing to put them in and take them out of
Oh,
your
damn.
eyeballs all the time. So, um, that's when they told me, and they were doing all this research and all these lights and things in my eyes, and just a million one things was going through my head and was like, wait, what? But before they got in depth with it, they was like, well, yeah, you can go blind, but here they are. There's these hard contact lenses. They can help you for now, so you won't need them. But it
Wow.
didn't take long until my eyes rejected them.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot going on here. So 2014, you went in the doctor's office. I mean, you went in because you were like, I'm having a problem with my vision, and all of a sudden it was like, bam, there's this eye disease. From that point until like, how soon was it that you were able to see the specialist? Like, were you able to see one right away? Was it a few weeks, a month? Like, how long was it before between your appointment, your original appointment, and like seeing that specialist,
I
if you
I
remember?
would say within in like a month,
Okay.
within a month
Yeah.
that it took me to see the specialist.
Hmm.
And from seeing that specialist, I had to go find me a or I guess another eye doctor that specialized in those contacts.
Okay.
Which, yeah, so it was just like waiting game, waiting, waiting, waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it took a while. And so like when you're in the specialist office, the first specialist, was that the specialist that told you that you had like the eye disease specifically, like right then?
Yes,
Okay.
he's the one who confirmed it
Yeah.
and told me all about it. But then at the same time though, I wasn't so like discouraged about it because I had high hopes and it was like, oh, here you go, you could still wear contacts, this is what's
Mm.
going to help you, this and then third. I was like, okay, yeah, fine, thumbs up. Now let's go see about these contact lenses. And when it came down to them, that's when that was another process.
Yeah, tell
Just
me a little bit about that, because I mean, obviously, I mean, so I am the only person in my family of like, I have two siblings and my parents, and I'm the only person that doesn't wear glasses, and so like I watch my brother put in soft contacts sometimes, and I'm like, oh, ow, like touching my eye, it like gets me
mhm.
squeamish. Like I can't, it takes me a long time sometimes to put in eye drops, for fuck's sakes. So like I can't even fathom like these hard contact lenses. So take me through a little bit of like what that was like. First of all, finding out like what this thing actually was and what it was like experiencing them for the first time.
um It took me a while because when I went to go see the specialist for the contacts, I had to actually get fitted for them. I
Okay.
didn't know nothing about it. So
Yeah.
you actually have to get fitted for them because every eye shape is different.
Mm.
Some are way more coned out than others, and some aren't. And when they do, is like your cornea is not supposed to touch the actual lens.
Okay.
And there's these fluids that you got to keep in the lens before you put them in your eyeball, actually, because they can't go in dry.
Okay.
And to remove them, you actually need. You remember those little toy guns that you'll just shoot at the window,
Okay.
and it'll get stick there,
Yeah, yeah,
like the Nerf guns?
yeah. Yeah.
You use one of those, but they're real tiny, just to actually put in there and then stick it and then pull it out,
Oh,
just to
wow.
pull out the hard contact.
Okay.
And if it breaks, if it breaks, oh
Oh
my
my.
God, if it breaks,
Yeah, wow. I don't even want to think
it's
about that.
expensive.
Yeah, I bet it's expensive. My goodness. So, so in the doctor's office, like you find out that you gotta get fitted for these things. Like, is that where, like, when did it set in that going blind was like a real possibility? Like, was it then, or did it happen later on down the road?
It happened later on
Okay.
when my eyes actually rejected the contacts, when my eyes actually started to reject the contacts. Um, I noticed my eyes were rejecting the contacts. I was around in my bachelor semester. I was in a beginning stage of it. And I kept noticing my eyes were getting real red and irritated and
Mm-hmm.
stuff was discharging. And it only happened, and I got this severe migraine every time from the time when I put it on to the time that I took it off.
Mm.
And I kept noticing my eyes were just getting so red and then I was just like, okay, something's wrong. So when I went to the doctor, told him that what happened, and it was just like, oh man, yeah, your eyes aren't agreeing with these contacts anymore. And I was just like, to be honest with you, I'd rather not deal with them because it's bothering me so much and I just can't. So that's when they were just like, there's nothing we can do for
There's
you for now besides give you dark shade glasses.
So that was it. It was like the one option was like these hard contact lenses, and that was pretty much the only
The
option.
other option is actual transplant,
Mm. Like a
the
cornea
corneal
transplant?
transplant. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And there is a 50% chance that the sight that I have now, I can either gain it or completely lose it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I'm like, I don't think I want to play this. That's kind of gambling game.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. And so from the time that you found out in 2014 that you had this disease to the time that you're when like was it later that year? Was it 2015? When did your eyes like reject the hard contact lenses?
My eyes rejected them, and it took me a while, like
Okay.
3 years.
Oh, okay. So for
3 years,
3 years
yeah.
you were just wearing these hard contact lenses and everything was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden in
All of a sudden, it was just like,
2017.
okay. I'm like, okay, we're tired. We don't want them anymore. And my eyes just went left.
Wow.
And that's when from then on, the school ended up telling me about when I was attending school, they ended up telling me about this program called Division of Blind Services.
Okay.
And then that's when I got in and I spoke to them and I was like, hey, I'm having a problem with my eyesight, this and that and the third. And this is what possibly could have happened. And when they took me in for a eye exam, that's when they told me, yeah, you're considered legally blind right now.
Wow. Okay. And so
And
what
that's when it hit me.
gotcha. And when was that? What year was that? Was that 2017 or was that a little bit later?
2017, around 2017, late 2017, early 2018.
Gotcha. And how old were you at the time?
Oh man, I don't remember. Oh my goodness. I know I was in my late 20s.
Okay.
I know I was in my late 20s. But yes,
Uh,
oh my goodness.
I I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the like the technical questions, but I'm just trying to figure out a little bit more about like what was, how old you were at the time, because I think that, people can maybe relate to it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming, hold on, let me calculate this real quick because now I really want to know. I really want to know how old was I then because I know I was in my late. Oh no, I wasn't. I was like 30, 31.
All right, there you go. You're 30, 31. So
Yep,
you were like
30,
my age.
31.
Like
Yep.
I'm 30 right now. Just turned 30 like 4 months ago. So so basically at my age, you just all of a sudden you're just like, yeah, I'm legally blind. And I don't even know what that scale means. Like you said that you went to for this eye exam and they were like, you are considered legally blind because I don't have glasses and because I don't, like, see an optometrist very often. I don't know what that means in terms of like the scale of sight. Like, what does that mean? Like, you are considered legally blind.
I believe when they say considered legally blind, you know how everyone has like 20/20 vision,
Mm-hmm.
perfect vision. Now, if your numbers are higher than higher in the denominator area,
Mm-hmm.
like if it's past, let's say 200, 2200 is considered legally blind.
Right.
So I was hitting like 2250 at the time, or 20. Oh no, I was in the early stages of it. And then that's when one eye was like 2300 and the other one was 2250. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. So that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that means that what a regular what a person with perfect sight would see at 300 feet, you're seeing at 20 feet. Is that what that means? 2300.
I'm not really sure how they really work,
Oh, no
if you
worries. No
honestly
worries.
ask me.
Okay.
But what someone would see with their perfect vision from a far distance, I wouldn't be able to see at all.
Yeah. Okay. So when you took that eye exam, we'll stop. I'll stop asking the technical questions. This is my analytical mind just being super curious about some of the numbers. When you took that eye exam and they said you are considered legally blind, you said that it hit you. That's when it hit you. So what?
You know, the doctor didn't wasn't the one who actually told me this.
Oh,
It
okay.
was it wasn't the doctor that told me this. It was the Division of Blind Services, because they're the ones who sent me off to get the eye exam. And when they got my report back, that's when they sat down with me and was like, "Oh, come in, we'll have a meeting. We can talk and see what you want to do." And I was like, "Okay, let's see how you guys could help me." That's when they told me, there was this like, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're considered legally blind, so we can't accept you into our program." And I was just like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay.
Wow. And you had applied for like a graphic design program at the time. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you had applied for
Yep.
this graphic design program. You know that you're having problems with your site, but you're like, oh, okay, like I'll figure it out. Like the school can
Yep.
accommodate me somehow. And then all
Yep.
of a sudden they're just like, yeah, you're legally blind and we don't have the resources to actually help you, so we can't accept you into our program.
No, it wasn't like that with them. Actually with the school, I kind of kept it like, okay, it's time for me to get out of school right now and trying to figure out how can I make this work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because my main goal was like, even though yes, I know I've heard that yes, I'm legally blind, but my main goal is like, I want to finish school. I was just in the beginning stage. I want to finish school. I just want to finish school. I just want to get my I want to finish school. That was all that was in my head.
Yeah.
And I was just very determined.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what else was happening like in your brain other than wanting to finish school? What was happening like in that meeting or in your brain or immediately afterwards when they told you that you are considered
Um,
legally blind?
I remember it like it was in nothing. I stayed in the meeting. I s- with a smile on my face, kind of like, okay, fine, okay, I'm just taking it in, taking everything in. But as soon as I walked out the door, I mean, I fumbled. I Oh my goodness, I cried. I literally cried because I'm like, now what am I gonna do?
Mm,
Because it's like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna live? How am I gonna? And it was just so much at the time that I literally stayed in the elevator and wrote and had people just riding up and down while I'm just crunched on the floor, just crying because I'm just
wow.
figuring this all out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what's gonna happen with my life?
Mm-hmm.
And then so when I finally got up, I walked outside because my friend, she's the one who took me. Um, when I walked out, and that's when I told her, I was like, I'm legally blind. I'm losing my sight. And then she just held me. She's like, it's okay. We gonna make it all right. Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. But that was that was that was the day that and it's something, I think it happened around in May. Yes, I remember. It was around May because I was just like, oh my goodness. Because I ended up having to leave school in the middle of that semester. And then I was just like, I need to get myself together because I can't see.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. That
Hmm.
that must have been devastating. And like you said, you're sitting on the elevator, just literally sitting on the floor crying, just going up and down, just riding it back and forth and just thinking about everything. And I think we talked about this before we hit record, whereas like I've pictured, myself losing a limb or losing a sense, um because I'm just curious of what my life would be like if that were to happen, but I can't. It's so difficult to like actually imagine like the day to day of like how things change. So I
Hmm.
really want to dig in to understand what that experience was like for you, because like you said, I know it was devastating when it first happened. Was it like that for the rest of the day? Was the rest of the day like just crying and devastation and just so many questions going on in your brain about like what's gonna happen?
Um, the day still went on or whatever as a normal day, but it was still lingering in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when I was more so when I'm by myself, that's when it hits me even harder.
Mm,
But and you can see it in my face when people were around me. They was just like, "We know something's wrong,"
yeah.
and all this other thing. It's just like it's not something that I was just out bluntly wanting to talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just there,
Yeah.
and I moped around not just for like a day. It lasted for a while,
Yeah. When you say a while, was it like months? Was it a year, a couple years?
months.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would say about a good year, about a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Even after the fact, it's like about a good year until I actually just became more comfortable with it and just like, whatever, this is my life. I'm gonna just, this is me now.
Yeah. Was there a specific moment in time or like a specific experience that flipped that switch and started the thought process of like, this is my life now, I'm going to deal with it one step at a time? Or was it the fact that it was just, it had been a long time of kind of going up through the ups and downs?
Um, a little bit of both. A
Okay.
little bit of both, actually. Um, I guess my experience with it is because I had the great opportunity to actually go to like a blind school and be around my peers, like people
Mm-hmm.
that are just like me. So
Yeah.
it was just like, okay, if you guys can do this, I most definitely can do this. I'm like, okay, okay. I'm gonna give it all I got.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my motivation kind of person. I'm like, I'm gonna give it all I got. So let's make the best of this. And that's exactly what I did at the school. But coming out of it into the real world, whew, it's a
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. I mean, oh shit, I just hit my microphone. Yeah, so like, I mean, the fact that like you being around people that are experiencing the same thing as you and being able to talk with them and learn from them and even just feel like you belong, like it's it's very interesting that like really kind of helped to kickstart some things a little bit.
Hmm.
And what I'm really curious about is, I mean, you mentioned this before we hit record, was the fact of like how this affected your mental health. You also mentioned like bullying and
Yes.
discrimination, and just kind of like you just mentioned, like being entering society was a whole nother beast. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what were there certain
I
experiences
mean,
that you had?
yes, I mean, I was already dealing with mental illness already, like fighting, dealing with depression, anxiety, just, the normal basics. But as now you're coming into it with a disability,
Mm-hmm.
it's even more prone to like for people to sit there and stare and look and do all this extraness. And it actually knocks down your self esteem
Mm-hmm.
tremendously.
Yeah.
So, out in the world with me, now that I have to walk around with the whole cane, I'm like, I'm embarrassed. Like, I don't want to walk around with this thing. Like, oh my God. Like, and then the thing about it is that you need it because I need to see that those are my eyes.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and you have people that would say things that actually see me around but don't know me and was just like, oh, you're not blind. Why are you faking it? Why are you holding the cane?
Wow.
And in some cases, like, you would have people that would, even though they know that you're blind or see you with a disability, I think they would find themselves overly stepping their boundaries,
Okay.
if you get what I mean.
Not exactly. What do you mean by that?
Like, when they see you, then they want to be like overly helping.
Okay. I understand. Yeah.
And it's just like, I didn't ask for help,
Mm.
but thank you. I got this, but thank you. And it's just like, treat me like a regular person.
Mm.
I just want to be treated like a normal person.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you deal with that. And I find it even worse that I dealt with it mostly with the bullying. I find it in my own society, my own group. And I'm like, I'm a Black person just like you guys. And it's just like, you guys are even more harsh on me
Mm.
than helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot. That really did break me. And not only that, with family members too.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like, to this day, like, I feel like some people won't even hang out with me because of my disability. Before all of this happened, I was the it girl. Let's go out, let's do this, let's do that. I was the it girl. But since then, everything completely flipped.
Hmm. Wow, that's really unfortunate. I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. How did you deal with some of that stuff? Because it sounds like for like being in society, it sounds like you got either one side of the spectrum or the other, where people were just like downright rude, or they were just like overly exaggerating the like trying to be helpful, like over
Mhm.
exaggerating it and acting like you're completely debilitated. So like
Yes.
how did you deal with some of the bullying or the family members not wanting to hang out? How did you navigate that?
Ooh. Um, Tough skin. I would have to say tough skin, but at the same time though, it was a lot on me. It was a lot on me, and also that things that I felt like I had to work on with myself, because it's just like, I do not want to accept these kind of things. It's just like, if you don't like me for how I am now, or you didn't, and you feel something, just leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn how to be comfortable by myself,
Mm. Yeah.
because like I said, I was the it girl. Everybody wanted to hang out with me. I was never a time that I was just like, oh, by myself. I literally had to learn how to be by myself, how to be comfortable with myself, and how to just deal with authentic people that, that are genuine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, what's really interesting that you're talking about is like there's so many adjustments when something like this happens. I had a woman on my podcast not too long ago. Her name is Barbie Garcia, and she lost one of her legs from the knee down. I
Mm,
think it might have been around her 27th birthday or something like that. So she lost it because of a boating accident, and in that episode when I was talking with her, she was telling me about how there were so many adjustments. It's not just, oh, I lost a limb, or in your case, oh, I lost my vision. There's so many other adjustments that are made where it's like now you're looked at differently. Now people treat you differently. Now people don't want to necessarily hang out with me, so I'm spending more time on my own. So it's not I just have to adjust to my vision deteriorating, but I have to adjust to so many other things. And I really
yep.
have to focus on mentally how I'm dealing with all of this. And
Yes.
so other than like you mentioned earlier, the fact that going to blind school and being around your peers that were experiencing the same thing was really helpful. What were there other things that you did? Like, was there therapy involved? Was there talking with friends, like specific friends or family
Oh,
that like really helped you through things? Like, what was it that really helped you to kind of get through some of the toughest times?
therapy. I was in therapy like clockwork. I'm still in therapy. Even right now, I feel like, even on my good and bad days
Hmm.
or my good days, I'm still clocking in for my therapy session because I'm just like, even if it's good news, hey, I want to express my good news to you.
Hell
And
yeah.
I don't always want you to hear my bad news, but a lot of therapy. And in the program, it also like they had their little what is like a safe space where we have a meeting as a group where we could sit there and talk about how we were feeling
Hmm.
about our emotions or what were going on inside our, outside of our other environment, but inside right in school in that classroom, it was our safe space where we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
So that was like pretty cool. And you just listen to people's stories and you'd be like, oh my, kind of sound like me. Like, okay, I'm not in this boat by myself. So
Hmm.
it was just like, yes, it was great to see. And then, and also it's like we would comfort each other, be like, you got to take it like this, you got to do like that, and try to, help each other out around it. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in community, and finding out that you're not the only person dealing with something it just, there's like this sense of comfort, right? And the sense of
Yes.
like, oh, let's talk, like we might belong together. Like that sense of belonging is really powerful as well. And so that, and a quick question, did you go to therapy before all of this happened, or did you not?
I was in therapy, but it wasn't like, you know how you find therapists and you're just like, okay, I kind of like you, but don't really like you, but I don't like this one. So until you find, it's not really going to work until you find the actual right one that you
Yeah.
want. And I didn't find my right one until after everything happened.
Okay.
So at the time I was just like, yeah, okay with you.
Well, the reason I ask is because, and I know you mentioned that you'd been dealing with some mental health issues before any of this happened. The reason I ask about therapy is because oftentimes, I should say, from the people that I know, the people that I've talked to, a lot of people aren't in therapy until something traumatic happens. Like me myself, I wasn't in therapy until something traumatic happens, and then it's like a response to a traumatic thing, right? And then sometimes, like in my case, I was in therapy for a short period of time, and I like kind of got what I needed at the time, and so it was a temporary thing. And then that was kind of my stint with therapy in the recent years. Whereas there are others that kind of stick with it, like you said. Like my wife's in therapy as well, and there's so many benefits. Like there's so many conversations that her and I have had together about the things that she's dealing with that we might otherwise we otherwise may not have had. There we go. English is hard
Hmm.
sometimes.
I'm
um,
sorry. He's about to fall off the bed.
oh, no worries.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
All set.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, I wanted to ask about therapy, like I said, because sometimes it's in a response to a traumatic event. Some people have sort of already been in therapy, so they're familiar with it, and it's really interesting. So that was like the mental health side of things was a lot of therapy, as you said, being around peers that supported you and having that sense of community. And I promise I don't mean this in a condescending way whatsoever. I literally just have no idea how this works. How did you navigate, or how did you start to make adjustments to your physical life, like being legally blind? And if I remember correctly, your vision has continued to deteriorate since that time. So like, how have you gone actually making those adjustments? Because I'm like, you say like, oh, I got the stick, and I'm like, yeah, I see some blind people with the stick, but I don't
Oh,
even
don't call it the
understand like,
stick. Oh, don't call it the stick. We
I'm
don't like
sorry.
it when you call
I'm
it the
sorry.
stick.
What do you call what's the proper term?
Cane.
A cane. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Cane. Oh, they'll get so mad at you calling our cane a stick.
So I'm sorry. I thought you said stick earlier but
Yeah,
I
that's what I
remembered.
call it sometimes. But they get so mad when you call it the stick, and I'll be like, "Oh my god!" But it is. That's what we think of it, though. And when I was in school, they was like, "Don't you call it a stick?"
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, so the cane. So I see some blind people with the cane, and I understand like what it does and what it's for, but I don't even know like from the time that you found out like how that you are legally blind and your vision continues to deteriorate. Like, what's the process of like actually figuring out how to interact with the physical world now that something has drastically changed?
talk about equipments that they will give you for days when you are blind. I mean, I learned a lot because, like I said, they will send you off to a school where you would actually get all the training that you need,
Oh, okay.
from like from technology training to like the basic of cooking, cleaning, how to even sew, how to even just live independently without your sight. That's what we're going to school for that training when you're up in that school.
Gotcha.
And I've learned a lot. And they gave me, and we have so many gadgets. So many
Too many
gadgets.
gadgets?
It's a lot of gadgets, but they all are great. They're all great, from
Hmm.
money readers to I would call them, they're called meters. Like they're meters to, like, if you go out to get drinks from like a fountain in a cup, you use the little meter and it beeps at you, let you know when your cup's full. To those,
Hmm.
to talking, everything talks. Everything
Everything,
talks.
everything talks.
Everything talks. So by the time when you leave out of that school up, I would tell you, if you go to a blind school, make sure you go there with your suitcase half empty, because you're gonna come back with another suitcase
Yeah,
leaving,
yeah.
because
No,
it's like that many stuff that you get.
yeah. Like, you've mentioned blind school to me a few times. I didn't know that it literally was training for people that have become blind. I honestly thought that you had meant, the graphic design program that you had went to. Like,
Oh
they
no,
they they were like, no, we can't accept you. I thought you went to school for graphic design,
no.
for, in a school that could actually help you navigate being a blind person. You
Oh
literally
no.
meant training for somebody who has
Training
become
for a
blind.
blind person to live in the real world
Right.
after, from everything to technology and everything. And to be honest with you, I was known as the difficult case, because I'm like, um, I know what I'm here for. I'm here because I need you to train me on this Mac computer because I'm a graphic designer. I need help. I know I need help.
Yeah.
And they were just like, everyone over there uses PCs or
Hmm.
HPs. And I'm the only one with an Apple. I was like,
Oh no.
no, not it. I got a Mac. I need help. And the teacher even had to teach himself how to use a Mac and how to do all this to teach me.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm just like, so we're basically teaching each other.
Yeah. That's
Hmm.
that's interesting. How long were you in blind school for? Is it a one-time thing? Do you go back every so often? Like,
You
I didn't
can
even know
go
that
back.
this institute existed. So you got to
Yes,
tell me about it.
you can go back if you want, but I can't go back. I have a little one, so um I'll have like training over Zoom now, since some of them are having a hard time to come over to people's house
Hmm.
ever since COVID. But right now I'm currently in training now for the same things, but more in depth, because my eyesight have gotten worse. So it's like now I need the extra training. But if you want, yes, you can go back there. It's a live-in institute. They actually live there the whole time you're there,
Hmm.
and they basically show you how to walk around, go places. They would encourage you to go places, take us shopping, how to pick groceries by using our equipments that they give us.
Hmm.
And you would be stunned by certain things. You'd be like, wait, your thing can do that? I didn't know it can do
Like
that.
what? Give me an example. Now I'm
Like
intrigued.
right now, I have my favorite one is that I use is my it looks like a tablet.
Okay.
People think it's a tablet, but really and truly it's my magnifying glass. And I can use it to go to the store and I can scan any barcode of an item and it will tell me exactly what the item is.
Wow.
And if I take a picture of the front, and it will read up to me and tell me, oh, what day does this expires, and etc. So it's pretty much everything that you can think of.
Wow, that's really cool. The fact, like, I did not know that this institute existed, but I am very happy that it does, because I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like with you and with my friend Barbie, like, it's more than just a physical adjustment to things. There's so
Yes,
many day-to-day adjustments that if you don't necessarily have somebody to show you, it might take you 10 times longer to learn
yes.
how to do these things. That gadget, for example, if you didn't have that, I can't imagine how difficult grocery shopping would be.
Um, Open your mouth. Ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
I mean, I live by myself. I go grocery shopping all the time. Now it's convenient for me ever since COVID. I can do it on my phone
Mm-hmm.
so I can hear everything that I'm basically putting in my cart.
Yeah.
But to go inside an actual grocery store like I did back then, I would literally ask them, take me to customer service, leave me there, and I'm going to ask them, hey, can you have someone help me shop? I need to get groceries. And that's exactly how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they'll walk me through the whole thing. If I need to walk around the whole store, they'll walk around the whole store with me, picking on what I need,
Yeah.
and very helpful.
Good. Yeah. And that makes sense. Obviously ask for help. But if you didn't have that help, I couldn't imagine like how difficult
Oh,
that would be.
oh man.
How long, so you go to blind school. How long was blind school?
3 months.
3 months. Okay. So after blind school, um, was there, I'm sure that there was still an adjustment period to do day-to-day things. Like how do you remember? I don't know if this is a stupid question or not, but how long did it take you to feel comfortable like doing most of your day-to-day activities?
Um, Getting back home was good. Just to be back home, I'm like, okay, I learned what I did. I can get back home.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more so stepping outside the door
Mm,
into the real world.
yeah.
That's when it actually hit me because I was no longer in my safe space at the at the school where I can actually go out. And when I do go out to different stores or whatever, and all eyes are not on me.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm in my environment, my hometown. It's just like as soon as you step out, it's just like squirrel, squirrel. That's exactly how it felt. Like they're like I'm the squirrel and they're the dogs just looking at me, and I'm like, why everyone's staring at me? You guys make me feel so uncomfortable. And
Mm,
the thing that I really didn't like is how it's like I'm blind, I'm not deaf, I can hear everything you're saying,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like it goes one ear and right out the other, and you're just like people would say the cruelest thing. Like I remember one time I was with someone at a store and this person literally was just like, haha, look, it's the blind leading the blind.
Wow.
And I'm like,
How did that make you feel when you heard that?
I wanted to lash out, but it's like something in me was just like, sometimes some people really don't deserve a response.
Mm, very true.
Because guess what? I might be blind, but I'm not drunk in public looking the way that you're doing and acting a fool, and I can still do things. Now, can you do this if you were in my shoe? So it's just like you just look at him and be like, oh, you want to be funny. Okay. And what it made it at the end, after he said that, it's just like everyone just kind of gave him a look like, you're just so rude and so nasty. It just made everybody look at him different.
Yeah.
And so it's just like certain things, sometimes certain things don't really need to be, don't need a response because,
Mm-hmm.
it'll work in its own way.
Yeah, it don't need your attention.
No.
Like things will work itself out. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. We've spent a lot of time talking about like the adjustments of just adjusting to life after finding out that you're legally blind and your vision deteriorating. And thank you for answering all of my questions, by the way, because like my brain is just kind of going and I'm just throwing all these questions
You're
out there.
fine. Yes. Come on, keep
And
at it because you get to know.
yeah, 100%. And honestly, there's just like I said, like it's I'm like, excuse my ignorance, I literally just don't know about these things, like in
Yeah.
terms of all of this
And the thing
stuff,
about
right?
it, even a lot of parents who have like kids, especially like children, infants that don't know about these programs, that yes, we do have them out there,
Hmm.
but it's not talked about unless you're actually going through that problem.
Yeah.
So it's just like, no, it's out there.
Yeah.
Even it's like we have a lot of resources, but not a lot of people know of them.
Yeah, well, send me those resources. So I like I
Yes.
mentioned, like I'm gonna send you an email and grab some links from you. Send me like your social media and stuff, of course. We're going to get into talking about your company right now and how that started. But
Mm-hmm.
also send me links about like specific resources for either parents with children that have vision disabilities, or like specifically you mentioned earlier, blind parents that are trying to help their sighted children. So send
Yes.
me a lot of resources. I'm going to put them in the description. That way it's easy for everybody to find, and to look you up and to look up the resources. So send them my way. I'll put them in the
Yes,
description.
yes, yes.
But yeah, I think this is a great time to transition to talking about like how your company started, because I know
Ooh,
it has a lot to do with the fact that you are a mother. So
yes.
tell me a little bit about why things changed. I mean, you can give as much detail as you want in terms of becoming a mother, but I really want to know like why things changed when you found out that you were pregnant. Like, why did all of a sudden you were just like, okay, I need to do this. Like, I need to do something different, because it's a really, really interesting story.
Well, initially, before I became a mom, I know I wanted to go back to school and work and graduate, because my main goal was to be like, oh, yes, I want to go work for Disney. I want to be a graphic designer for Disney. I was so excited. Yeah, like they said, ever heard that saying, you tell God your plans, you make him laugh,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll tell you his? That's exactly what happened to me. So while in the process of this, um, found out I was pregnant in late June, early July. And I'm like, okay, I'm in school. Just got back into school, and it was just like, okay, this is right after leaving blind school. Just got back in, getting my feet wet. I was in my second semester during the summertime. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Um, to the point that even the teachers were amazed at me even coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a project that the teacher wanted me to create, and it was like, oh, we need you to design a book or whatever. It can be whatever book you want, but you got to design a book and make it look real, and to see if anybody would buy it. And I'm like, oh man, what in the world he want me to do this for? Like, what kind? Like, these are the things that's going through my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew is that within the time of me trying to create and design this project, all hell broke loose. Like I said, it's always something. All hell breaks loose. Um, my neighbor above me ended up having a fire, and from then on, I lost everything
Mm.
in my apartment. Everything. So I was basically homeless, pregnant with a service dog. I had nowhere to go. And I found myself literally sitting on a couch, and I'm pregnant, and I'm like, what am I going to do with myself?
Mm-hmm.
I still got to deal with school, and life is coming at me like kaboom. And of course, everybody's like, you got to get renter's insurance. She didn't have renter's insurance, so I didn't get nothing. So it was just like
Oh no.
boom, like oh my gosh. So living out from hotels to friends' houses, jumping from this and that and third, I still managed to go to school.
Wow.
And I ended up creating a children's book, alphabet book in Braille. And I was just like, the teacher's like, oh, you can only do, like, if you want, you could do 10 pages. If you want, you can exceed it. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do all of these. But someone spoke to me and was like, yeah, you should go ahead and just exceed it. Just do all out like you always do, since you're so extra. And I was like, yeah, I'm extra. Let's do it. And that's exactly what happened. I went all out, and then I turned it in, and the teacher was like, okay, okay, okay. I like this. I really do like this. So I kind of left that assignment alone for a while until like the end of my graduation year. My last class was my portfolio class, and then after that, so it's like, is there a project that you would like to work on to exceed on it to make it look even more better? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I want to work on my book. And then they're like, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. And when I worked on that book, that this one teacher was just like, Janie, you just never seem to amaze me. I like this. I can honestly see this going somewhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. And then so that's when I took it to the next level from creating that one book, the alphabet book, to like doing numbers, from numbers then to shapes and then to colors. And then I was just like, ooh, I got an idea. Let's make it in another language. Blew my mind. I turned it into Spanish, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm Haitian. Why not make it Creole? Because not everybody speaks, this language. Boom, turn it into that. And I was just like, I wanted to versatilize it because not everyone speaks English.
Hmm.
And Braille does not only come in one language. Obviously, I have learned that because I looked it up and I was seeing all the accents and different marks for Braille. And I was just like, oh, okay, I really think I went over my head for this one, but it's needed. Let's do it.
So, do you know Braille in more than one language?
Um, no, but I know the accents of dots of it, how it goes.
Gotcha.
If I can spell it, I'm good. But as far as me learning the words and stuff like that, I'm like, no, I know how to spell it.
Gotcha. See, this is something that it seems so obvious, but it's not. It's something that I never thought of. I never thought that Braille was in different languages.
Yes.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting. That's so interesting. Okay, so you had this project, and you had no idea that this could go somewhere. One of your professors believed in you and was just like, "Yeah, this could go somewhere." You got super excited. And so how did that form into a company?
Basically, how it formed into one is because I I'm like such a grand thinker. Sometimes I don't even know how the ideas pop into my head. I'm
Hmm.
like one of those people. It's just like once things starts to get comfortable for me, or I feel like okay, I just accomplished one thing. I need something else to do because getting comfortable makes my asshole itches, and I don't like it. So I have to get up to do something. So I have to
Oh
get up to
my
do
god,
something,
I love the way you
and
describe that.
because it's true. That's no other way to explain it. But it's just like an irritation that you
Yeah.
just, oh no, I can't stay here. I gotta go. And that's just the way I'm set. And
Oh man.
from then, I think after creating those 4 books and left it as is, that's when I decided, oh, you know what? I need to see if I can actually print out these books
Hmm.
and actually see how far I can go with it. So when I got the prototype, I actually found a company in the United States, I believe in New York, that printed out the book for me, a board book, just like regular plain board book. It didn't have no embossed in it, just plain. And I was like, okay, I can deal with this for now. And then so I'm just thinking to myself, now how do I get these dots?
Hmm.
How do I make people feel these dots? To explain how I want my books to be. And so that's when I went ahead and I first I started buying sticky dots, the little dots that we use as blind people that help us label things when it comes to like labeling the microwave or labeling certain things on our remote control TV,
Hmm.
things like that. I was just like, okay, I realized the dots were way too big. It didn't fit, so I was like, it couldn't work. So I was like, okay, on to the next one.
So were you like trying to like basically create the book yourself, like with these little sticky dots? Oh my
Yes,
goodness. Wow.
yes, yes. So when and with my magnifying glass, I was I was adamant. Yes, I was so adamant. When I tell you, I was just like, I can't take no for an answer. It can be done.
Yeah.
I know it can be done. I'm not taking no for an answer. So I was just like, okay, this is not working. Let's try something else. So that's when I went up to look up like puff paint. And I was like, oh,
Puff
puff
paint.
paint. I
Okay.
can use puff paint. And that actually did work. But the downside of it was that the puff paint was just so sticky. So when you close the book, you can actually hear just pop, 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 pop. Like,
Oh no.
I'm like, oh, this is not going to work, but it's working just for the, prototype preference, what I need it
Right.
for. It's doing what it needs to do, but it's not going to work down the line. And I know for a fact the kids are going to scratch it because they like to with their fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, okay. But I got it to the point that I used it enough to help me teach my little one. And then that's when I was just like, okay, let's turn this into a business. Let's see if I can go ahead and make something out of it. And that's when teaching your baby in Braille came to be something major. And I was just like, wow. And that's when I got my first article about me that hit front page news about a student that overcame their disability. And I was front page, and I was like, what? I'm in the front page? Oh my gosh. This is insane.
I saw that article. Like you Google your name, and that's like one of the
Yes, and
first one that
that's
pops
the
up.
funny thing about, and I was like, if you Google me, my everything comes up about me. I never had a Google, but Google my name.
That's
I felt so
amazing.
important. And and also at the time, I was not only dealing with that, but I would say the biggest thing that also helped me finish school was dealing with Adobe. I actually contacted them myself to speak with accessibilities, and I worked with the guy he no longer worked there. His name was Mark, but he worked there, and he was the one who's helping me alongside of me, tell me, okay, try this keyboard, try this note, and see if this one will work for you when you're using this software. Tells me what this one worked for you, how does this one work for you. And it was like back and forth all the time, just straight communication. Be like, oh, this one works for me, oh, this one doesn't work for me, I didn't like this one, can we try this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up being successful in it. And I was just like, yes. So I literally went outside the box by going and digging and looking for help, because I'm
Yeah.
not taking no for an answer.
And yeah, exactly, and not taking no for an answer. Exactly. Wow, your perseverance and your resilience is definitely admirable.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you're just like, I'm making this happen. I'm making it happen.
Yeah.
What year was it that you turned it into a company? Was it uh 2019, 2020?
No, I actually turned it into official company 2022. That's when I actually
Oh,
got it all legalized and
nice.
everything.
Wow.
And I was just like, yep, I did it around my birthday. So it's like, this is my birthday present to me. It's official.
Oh, that's
Yes.
amazing. I love that. Absolutely love that. Wow, that's really, really cool. And so, two questions. One, I want you to tell me and the listeners like where the books are at right now in terms of like the process of getting them completed, published, and just and out there. And also, what other things do you do as a company teaching your baby in Braille? I know there's more to it
Ooh,
than the books
yes,
itself.
there
So
is a
tell
lot
me
more.
and the listeners what else is involved.
Okay, right now the books are I'm waiting for it to get printed. I recently just found a company after getting turned down by so many. Don't take no for an answer. So I just finally found a company overseas to actually print my book, and that they actually can speak to me. We can talk and communicate over the phone, no problem. So right now it's just like basically waiting for funds so we can actually get them printed, because soon as they're printed out, I'm like, okay guys, guess what, you guys can meet me at a library, we can have like a book signing, let's get it.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
And then also, if they don't want to come and do that, I'm trying to also have my website up, so therefore they can go ahead and pre-order their books if they want, and and I can have them mailed out to them when the books actually get here.
Hmm.
But right now, everything is just like, okay, waiting for the books to get printed. And not only that, what I also do with my company is that I go to different preschools and daycare centers, and teaching your baby in Braille is always the hype every time I come in. But what I do is give them presentations and explain to them about blindness awareness, and also go over the books and ask them how, like, what it's like to deal with someone blind, and how a person who is blind can literally still teach you, and how to respectfully talk to a blind person, not staring,
Mm.
because we're not all totally blind. And trust me, if we were, we could still sense you feel can sense your eyeballs on us. So we prefer you just to speak instead of just
Yeah.
staring so hard.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Wow, that is some really, really incredible work. And I know that when we first spoke, you said that the fact that you were pregnant and that you were going to have a son played a huge role in like really almost like creating the mission of this company and changed your perspective on what you were going to do with your life. And the one
Yes,
thing that you had said to me was that you said, I am his life experience, referring to your son. I need to
yes.
lead by example. Tell me like what that means and why was it giving birth to your son that changed your perspective?
My thing is because with my eye disease, we're not 100% sure if it's environmental or if it's hereditary because it's still new. And basically, when I got pregnant, my first main concern was like, oh my goodness, is my child going to have the same eye disease as me?
Mm-hmm.
Can we figure this out? During my whole pregnancy, I was high risk just because of that. And that was something that was just keen for them to find out. And throughout the whole thing, everything, throughout the whole pregnancy, everything was fine. Everything seemed normal. But they were just like, we can't find anything about his eyes yet.
Yeah.
As he got, and as he was born, everything still seemed fine. And then that's when they dawned on me and they told me and sat down and was like, Mama, we're not going to know anything until he's an adult.
Mm.
So, and I'm like, whoa. But I kind of figured that much in the back of my head while I was pregnant before he was born.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was just like that. But when after she told me that, that's when I had to feel like I needed to take my books to a whole nother level. Okay, now let me prepare him to learn how to do these things. Just like I was taught how to be blind, I am going to prepare him how it is to be blind. Even though, yes, he is sighted, I'm going to teach you how to read it, teach you how to cook, doing things, cover, just like the little basics. But also, it was even harder because he is autistic. So that takes another toll on it.
Yeah.
And when I found out about that one, that was a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. I'm sure that we could have a conversation about that in and of itself for very for a long
Yes.
time because that comes with a number of challenges. I recently had a conversation with a friend who their child was actually misdiagnosed with autism, and they went through a whole thing for like a year and a half, trying to actually figure out like what was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
it was even though at the end of all of that, if they found out that it was a misdiagnosis, even though that was the case, there was still a year and a half of having the reaction as if your
Yes.
child actually did have autism. So it was a really interesting and peculiar story, and to kind of talk with them about what they were experiencing was really interesting. So yeah, we could definitely have a conversation about that in and of itself for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that having a child, I've had conversations with friends before about how having a child changes their life, changes their perspective, without without having a vision disability, without being legally blind or going through something like that. Um, and what's incredible is that you took it upon yourself to be like, I need to prepare him in case this happens, because we don't know when this happens. For you, it happened when you were 30. For him, maybe it happens sooner, maybe it happens later, maybe it doesn't happen at all. You just don't
At
know.
all, right.
But as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I want to teach you to be independent. I want to
And
teach you to
yes,
be able to take care of yourself. I want you to
yes,
also be aware of this, just like you're teaching the kids in school. I want you to be aware of this so that you can respect people that are not exactly like you,
yeah.
which is amazing. And um, I find it really fascinating that you've taken it another step and taken it into schools. And it's really about awareness and education and about, hey,
Mm-hmm.
just because we look and sound different or look and have to act different doesn't mean that we're any less human than any of
Right.
you are, which is really incredible.
And it's fascinating even also with the little kids of how like intrigued they are, you because their minds is just so innocent. So it's just
Hmm.
like, wow, you are like, you can do this, like, oh, I like that. And the thing about it is that they actually get to experience it with me, like, okay, during our activities, I will allow them to like, I'll blindfold them and then I would allow them to walk with the cane just so they can use their other senses
Hmm.
to see how it is to get around and how to deal with other obstacles in front of you. Like I'll put a chair in front of them. So it's just like, did you feel that? That's how it is for us. This is what we go through. And just, you got to use your ears to listen. What did you hear? And it's just like, it's great. The
Hmm.
kids love it. They even love like reading the book, even if they don't know how to read it, but they'll just like, they cover their eyes and they use their hands to touch the dots and was like, oh yes, I feel it. I feel it. And so, and it's great.
Yeah, wow, that is really cool that you do that with them. And because again, you just like I mentioned earlier, I've pictured myself losing a limb or losing sight or whatever, but you just don't know what that experience is like until you legitimately are in that
Actually
position.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so blindfolding the children and having them do activities is really interesting. I've thought about doing that before. Like I follow this one guy on YouTube. He does like, oh, I did whatever for 30 days, and he does like a bunch of different challenges.
Hmm.
There's such a wide spectrum of things that he does. And one of the things that I thought of, I don't know if, if it would be 30 days, but it's like, oh, I pretended to be blind for an entire week. Like I put a blindfold over and tried to, do my day-to-day activities for a week, like as if I were blind. So I've thought about doing that before. I've never actually done it. I
And
think,
I'm telling you, when it comes to doing that, being a blind person, I would honestly say if you have OCD, just know it's 1,000 times worse.
oh no. Oh no.
1,000 times worse. Um, and if you're not, organization, 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 that's what you're gonna need.
Mm,
Because it's just like, okay, I know this goes here and this is where it belongs, and it's always gonna be there. And that's where it needs to always be.
yeah.
If I move it, I need to put it back.
Hmm.
And that's what it's basically like being blind.
Hmm.
Because
Wow.
if you lose it, you'll be like, oh my God, I don't know where it is. Oh my goodness, where did I put this? But if like nowadays you can order, what is it called? What are the AirPod
Air,
thingies? The little,
the little headphones. Yeah.
no, not air, not the headphones.
Oh,
They're like the little tags, air
oh, the
tags.
air tags. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. If you can't afford them, you stick them in. You go ahead and you ping your things, I guess. If that's what works for you, but they're very pricey. But you'll find me. I would literally all the time. I'm always losing something. My
Yeah.
little one likes to play games.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I could imagine that you'd definitely misplace things. You mentioned the OCD, so I don't think I have OCD, but I very sometimes very particular about like where things go or how tidy my space is or where this is or whatever. And yeah, I'm trying to picture what it would be like for like a week if I were to just blindfold myself and try to find these things or try to organize some things, and I'm like, I don't know I don't know what I
Yep.
would do or how I would have to do that, which would be really a really interesting experiment. I might take that up in the summer. I might block off 2 weeks in my calendar and be like, I'm blindfolding myself for an entire week right here. My wife's gonna be like, okay, great, thanks. Like, make sure you let me know, or
Right? Because she's gonna be like, so I'm gonna have to help you with this.
or
You
she's
gotta
gonna get out of the
understand.
house for a week. She's gonna be like, set up a couple cameras and call me to make sure to tell me that you're okay every night. But other than that, like, I'm just gonna get out of your way.
Seriously, from cooking to like doing your laundry.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
I
to
was
like,
just thinking about doing laundry in terms of like how, because I mean, like, I slide out the little detergent dish or whatever and pour it in, and I can see when it says normal and when it says max fill or whatever.
oh,
So I'm literally like, okay, I'm gonna have to stick my finger in here to make sure that I get the right
yes, see, and that's the thing about, and like me, I'm like, no, I know liquids are not my friend. I don't even bother. I use pods because
level.
it's easy. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, just throw one or two in, we're good to go. I don't need to measure anything. As far as like whites clothes,
Yeah.
whites, as far as like bleach,
Yeah.
listen here, just just dump. I was like, because it's just white. It's just like, okay, you don't need a lot, just as long as you hear just pours and you be like, okay, that sounds like enough. I don't need no more. And that's how
Oh,
I am when it comes to those. Um, but like when it like clothes, washing clothes and telling like, ooh, perfect example. Like with my site, like I could see some color, but hard colors for me to see is like the darker colors when they're too close to color, like black and navy blue,
Yeah.
or just me dressing up my son is like, whoa, did you put that together? I was like, I didn't mean to put that one on. Oh my goodness. And it's just like, now I literally have these little tags that I sewn, like they sewn it on the back of the clothes to let me know what goes with what outfit. And
Ah,
they'll let me, and so therefore, and since they're labeled on it, I'm like, okay, boom. So when they go in the washer, it's fine. Come out, it's fine. I can put them together. And I'm like, "Whew, we use a wand.
yeah.
It's called a wand. It's
Yeah.
like a labeler. So
It's not a
yeah.
stick, it's a wand.
Hmm.
It's not a stick, it's a cane. It's not a stick, it's a wand.
Like all of, yeah, yeah. Just these, gotta love these equipment. So you have a lot of equipment to like help you out,
Mhm.
but for you and your challenge, good luck.
Yeah.
You're gonna need help
Yeah, maybe
because
I
I'm
will
like,
literally need to get a stick
you would
to help me.
literally need help. I mean, to be honest with you, but in due time, it'll get easier.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will get easier.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think this is a great time to like transition into sort of the last part of the episode. Right before I ask you sort of the closing question, I want to ask you something else first. Has anything like really surprised you about your experience over the last 6 years or so about being legally blind and your vision continuing to deteriorate? Has there been anything that's like really surprised you about this experience?
Oh yes. Um, how far I've gotten.
Mm,
I would say I surprised my own self
mm-hmm.
because I would, if you was to ask me this before I was blind, I would honestly be like, I don't know. Probably I'll it's starting to, like, I'll probably still probably wouldn't have graduated. Um been doing other things with myself. I mean, right now I feel like even I would say my top notch, what even changed this whole thing mostly was having a child,
Mm, mm-hmm.
because just like any experience in life, it can either make you or break you. And I'm the type that, like, I'll turn any negative situation positive.
Yeah.
And what may works for you or Sam, Uncle Tim, whoever, may not work for me, but thanks for the advice. But like I said, everyone has an asshole. I'm not sniffing everyone's asshole. It's just like opinions. I'm not sniffing it, sorry. But yeah, it came to that point that I literally am proud of myself of how far I gotten, because it was just like determined. And the thing about it is that I literally have a quote that's on my that's my slogan of my business. I walk by faith and not by sight, because I'm like, I wake up every day, I don't know what I'm expecting to do. I didn't expect to get this far. I even made it on a whole TV show about my business that I never thought I would even go to. And now I'm like blowing up over a book that I literally created, that I was personalizing for my child, that I was like, you know what, this is too good to keep this to myself. I need to share this with everybody. Like, did you
Damn
guys
straight.
know this? Yeah, so I'm like, that's how it went down. And right now, to this day, I am still amazed at myself and how far I've gotten. And I think my situation have humbled me
Mm,
a whole lot.
mm-hmm.
I mean, completely, from what I was back then to what I am now. It humbled me
Yeah.
and got me prepared for my next step,
Yeah.
for me to go on. Because I'm like, if I was still stuck in the old place, I wouldn't have been where I am right now.
Yeah, no, you've come. I mean, just from hearing your story, like that you've come so far, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you, and I'm so excited for
Thank
like
you.
everything that you have accomplished and everything that you are going to accomplish, because you're just another example of how things are going to happen to you in life, and you get to decide what to do with it. And
Yeah,
you could have chosen a different way to deal with this, but you're just like, I ain't gonna take no for an answer. I'm still pushing ahead. I'm gonna
I'm
figure
still
this thing
pushing. Yeah.
out. And so I mean, what's like, not everybody is going to necessarily experience exactly what you've experienced, like finding out that they're legally blind at 30 and then their vision continuing to deteriorate. But as we mentioned before we hit record, everybody faces challenges. And so what would be your piece of advice, or what have you learned most from this experience that others can apply to their life when they're experiencing a challenge or when they're trying to push to get more out of life?
Ooh, yes. Oh my goodness. Here goes. I was waiting for this one.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say. Just like I said, everyone has opinions. What works for somebody else may not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that I learned before I ended up blind was that don't live in your parents' dreams. Don't live their dreams.
Mm.
You have your own life. Live your life. Regardless if you have a disability or not, you need to learn how to stand up for yourself, even against your own parents, just so you can persevere in life. Um, what else can I say about that? Oh, don't take no for an answer. I mean, if you have something, an idea, and everybody's just so against it, it's yours. If you feel like you can make it happen, make it happen. If one person won't listen to you, find another person that will. If they won't listen, you keep singing and find the next, just like God was going out spreading his words of what he believed in. Listen here, you be Jesus, spread your words and keep going, because there eventually you're gonna find someone or anyone, everyone to listen to you.
Hell yeah, absolutely, man. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to get Janie to record some Monday motivation, and just, you're gonna be our weekly hype man. Damn, like, you're just getting me fired up here. Oh,
Yes,
Janie, this has been absolutely an incredible experience. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for taking me and the listeners through like all of the details. I know I was being
yes,
a little pest and like asking so many technical questions and trying to get details out of you, but it's literally just because it's a completely different world than
yes, it
what
is.
I know. And so I really wanted to understand a little bit more about what you experienced, and what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And thank you so much for being so open and honest and vulnerable about your experience, and being just such like a source of motivation and inspiration, and
Yes.
honestly, like, I feel like you're just a ball of sunshine like on the screen right now. Like, I can feel it. I know
Thank
that the
you.
listeners can feel it too. Your positivity, despite everything that you faced, is contagious. You've had me
Yes,
smiling like nonstop throughout this entire episode, and so keep doing your thing. Let me know any way that I can support you. As always, I will put all of your links, your social media links, your website, links to your books when they are published. I'll put all of that in the
yep,
episode description. Please send me any resources that you want to include there as well.
yes,
And yeah, let me know how I can support you. Let me know how the listeners can support you as well.
yes.
Um,
Follow me on Facebook. Just, just keep up with me. Keep up with me.
Absolutely, yes. And like I said, I'll put Facebook, I'll put Instagram, I'll put your website in the description, so it's easy, super easy for people to find you. Janie, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. It was so much fun. And all I could tell all the listeners, life is what you make it. Keep moving forward. Always keep a smile on your face, even if it's down. Yeah, you might have a bad day today, but don't sit on it. Don't dwell in it. Move on. Keep smiling, because it's always going to be a better day. Troubles don't last always.
Boom. Boom.
Boom.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks, Janie.
Thank you.